Hey guys, welcome back to the Kind of an Expert podcast, the only podcast where the guest picks the topic of every single episode. My name is Corey Tyndall, and as always, I'm your host. And this week I sat down with New York City comedian Cansu Karabiyik to talk about a couple of things. The initial intention was to talk about ADHD, but in the scope of ADHD, we were all over the place, which I think is more appropriate than us just talking about ADHD. So we talk a lot about dating, and where we finally settle on is the difference between life in Europe and life in America. She moved to the United States about a year and a half ago, so we talk about a lot of the different day-to-day life things that she's run into since she's been here. Follow her at Cansu Comedy on Instagram, and if you're in New York City, go check out her show called Diversity Hire at QED. And as always, follow me at Corey T Comedy on all social media, and we always appreciate when you like, subscribe, share the show. Keep doing that. That is our favorite thing here. So with that, let's get into the episode. I haven't been on dating apps in a while. I just can't, it turns dating into a game for me, and I can't focus on anyone. I'm always just like, okay, who's the next person? Oh, maybe the next person will be better. This person was great, but I don't know. You never know what's out, and it just put me in a mental spiral. So anyone who's on them, I'm like, best of luck to you.
I think that's exactly the problem. That's why so many people are unsuccessful, because everyone treats it like a game.
Yeah.
Everyone's always like, oh, there might be someone else out there who could be better for me. It's like, oh, it's never ending. I hate it so much.
Well, that's I've heard so many people be like, I was just about to quit him, and then I found this person who's the love of my life. I was like, yeah, you were gonna quit, which is why you found the person, because you were like, well, this one better fucking work or I'm never finding love. And then you're like, oh my god, he's so great. It's like, no, your expectations were in the fucking basement,
right? You settled. It's what happened. You're like, this is it.
I was talking with a friend that was she went on dates with 75 different men in a year when she was trying to find. And she slept with all of them. No, wow. I'm kidding. I'm sorry. No, but she grew up very Jewish. She hit 30 and she was like, I'm finding a husband.
Right.
And just made it her life goal to find someone to marry. And she was like, apparently she wanted a date with this guy, and she was like, within a week and a half we were talking about getting married. I was like, that's insane to me.
That is wild. Who? So she's now with this guy?
Yeah. They're married. They have a kid.
That's
they're
crazy.
trying to start the second one. It's just I don't know. I don't want to say it's all just lower your expectations and then just fucking be with whoever, because it doesn't matter. But man, it really just feels like they were like, all right, cool. Yep, you'll do. And
you'll do. I think that's the fear, right? Is that you get to that point where you're like, okay, especially for women, that could happen. You're like, okay, this clock is fucking ticking.
Yeah, right. If you want kids,
done now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just scary. I think that actually scares me sometimes, because I'm like, I think I'm just gonna end up with someone, just anyone, because I just I need to get started with the kid thing.
Yeah. That sounds exhausting.
It's gross.
Yeah,
for sure. It is exhausting. And I think I go through these periods where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm just going to not date, or I'm just going to date from my circle, and it just never goes well.
Dating within the circle that's some risky business. That is.
I don't think I've ever been intentional about it, but it's happened. It's never been okay.
Friend circle or comic circle?
Either.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm dating a comic now.
Yeah.
It is a little terrifying. It's because she could just ruin my career.
Right.
She's been doing it longer. People like her more. All she's got is just fucking snap her fingers, and I'm done in this town.
You know what? You say that, but women really don't have that much power. Men have been getting away with a lot in comedy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just the power difference. I'm not gonna test it. I'm not gonna try to. I'm gonna try not to do anything too shitty.
I guess you guys are getting married then.
Yeah. Oh boy.
You're committed for life.
I don't think I could do anything to piss her off more than to propose to her. I think if I proposed to her, she'd be like, "No, we're done, and you're canceled. I'm gonna tell everyone you did horrible things to me."
That's funny.
Yeah, but it is weird. You go on a date with like, your friend circle, and then it's like, well, they all know, and then there's this weird little pressure, and then the breakup happens. And I've tried not to do it, but one of my friends was just, she went through a breakup, and so the group split in half, and then she was such a mess after the breakup that all of the other people in the group were like, we can't handle you either.
Wow.
So they lost like half the friend group, and then also the girl that like brought them together. So it's just like, it's like it didn't exist anymore. They just lost half their friends.
Damn.
It was wild.
That is wild. I would never risk it with my good friends.
No.
It'd be like someone like on the outskirts of it.
Okay.
Someone that my friends know. That would be fine. But none of my friends. Also, like my male friends, if I call someone my friend, it means that they're completely asexual to me. I can't be friends with someone I'm attracted to.
Yeah.
It can't happen.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very good at compartmentalizing that way.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I have the ability to do the same thing. I think a lot of women do.
Yeah, I think men maybe
not so much. I think men are in general pretty bad at it. And there's like all those jokes. It's like, yeah, you're friends until she wants to sleep with you. But I don't know. I'm just it's the drama. I'm like, I don't want the drama of sleeping with a friend, because then it's like, all right, what are we doing here? What's going? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like with comedy, it's way more risky. Because I have like entanglements, not dating specifically, but entanglements, and even that's turned out really complicated. Mm-hmm. Like, now you have to run into these people, you have to be nice to them, you have to play this game of like just, oh my God, I don't. Because usually when I stop dating someone, I never want to see them again.
Yep, same. I don't know how people are like, I'm best friends with my ex.
Like, shut up.
I have my ex could be living in fucking Mexico now. I have no idea. I haven't looked at their Instagram. Mm-mm. I haven't looked at, like, I haven't asked anyone about them. Like, nothing. That is an old time of my life. For sure.
I feel the same way. I'm like, there are occasionally where I'm being very toxic and I pull someone back in, but that's just because I'm being toxic.
Sure.
It's not because I'm like genuinely interested.
I love the self-awareness.
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, good. I like that. You know what? I was actually just talking about that with one of my friends, because my girlfriend's older than me, and people are like, "What are one of the benefits?" I'm like trying to figure out how to do this as a bit, but like as you get older, you realize when you're doing shit like that. Like a 22-year-old girl is never gonna say like, "Oh no, I'm being toxic right now." They're gonna be like, "No, I obviously I must love him if I'm like still doing this." And it's just like, it's so nice that they're able to be like, "Oh no, I'm being fucking crazy right now. Right. You still have to deal with it, but at least I'll acknowledge that it's not your fault."
Yeah, it's true. It does come with age. Definitely comes with some self-awareness. There are things that I'm doing like, what is my motivation for doing this? It's usually,
sometimes you don't need one.
Sometimes just being crazy.
Yeah. Why not? Yeah.
Like the things I do while I'm PMSing, should not be accountable for. I don't think so. There should be like laws that's
a slippery slope. Could you imagine if they tried to get that law through? That would be the end of their political careers. There would be mass protests in the street, and you'd just be standing there going like, "Wait, guys, that might be a good idea." I'm like, I mean, I don't like that they're telling me to do this, but like also they're not off base.
Hey, look, I would run on that political platform.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Give it a shot.
Yeah.
Oh, you'd be on Fox News so fast. They'd want to interview you immediately.
Yeah.
They'd be like, wait a minute. What is your
Muslim wants to do what? Like you can do it while you're PMSing. You can just go on a purge.
Oh, that'd be scary. This is what happens if we take down the patriarchy is the matriarchy starts murdering us once a month.
I mean, to be honest, more than men will probably murder each other.
Yeah.
It's like you're just angry at anyone. You're walking down the street, people are walking slow. You turn.
Oh my God,
I'm probably setting a really bad example right now, making it sound like women are all monsters while they're menstruating. That's not the case. Just me. I definitely am.
I got you. Yeah. I mean, you did say it should be a law that women should be able to do whatever. Yeah.
Be exempt, because you're literally not in control. So.
Oh man, well, this isn't even what we're talking about, but I'm glad we talked about it because that was fun. How much does like okay? So we're gonna talk because you just realized that you had ADHD.
Yes.
How does that affect your use of the dating apps? Like, give me how do you use them, and do you feel like it's different than how most people use them? Because I'm like, I very much will use dating apps as a distraction during the day. I will treat it as like if I'm working and I'm like, all right, I got 10 minutes before this meeting. When I was on dating apps, I just go on the dating apps and like, all right, that's what I'm going to do to fill my time for 10 minutes. Or if I'm working on a project I don't want to be working on, I'd be like, all right, well, let me check a dating app and like, all right, I'll swipe for a couple minutes, or I'll like heart a few people on Hinge and then go back to my job. And I would use it as a way to distract myself. Now I use TikTok, but like, I don't know. Is your use roughly the same, or is your approach kind of different? Or should we back up and talk about your ADHD in general before we get into the specifics like this?
Yeah, so okay, that's really interesting. And as you're saying this, I'm like, yeah, I definitely have a pattern here that it very much aligns with the ADHD, because the way that my ADHD is I hyper focus. Okay. So I either do nothing or I like fully immerse myself in it, and if I do nothing is because I need the stimulation. I need to be stimulated with so many things that I find it difficult to otherwise focus. And with the dating, I'm very much like, I'm either fully doing it and I'm committed to the dating app and I go through it, like I'm being like diligent about it, or I'm not doing it at all. And are
you putting like them in spreadsheets, like all your matches in spreadsheets? You're like, well, he's this height, but he's got this job, which expected income is this, and you're like power ranking them on pivot tables, and like how in depth are we getting here?
No, I'm not that. I don't care that much about anything in life.
Fair enough.
Right? Nothing. It's more like I will pay attention.
Sure.
It's like, okay, what? Like I have filters on, obviously. Like height's a filter, profession, like not profession, but like
you're not an animal. Yeah, right. Everybody. Those people that are just like, I know men that are like 18 to 45, any height, no job doesn't matter. Just if they've got boobs, I'm in, and I'm like,
oh god.
Oh man, dude! Like,
I mean, boobs just isn't just for women either.
True.
But yeah. That's fun. Yeah. No, I think and the way that if I can't deal with something, then I know that this is a part of the ADHD as well. When I can't deal with a simple task, I just put it away, and it'll be like in the back, and I won't deal with it. Like an email I have to answer that I can't like deal with, I just put it away, which is why my go-to also is ghosting people, right? It's like, I can't deal with you, I'm just not going to. And because of that, sometimes when I'm on a dating app, when I'm like feeling overwhelmed with a lot of stuff in life and someone says, you want to meet for a coffee, I'm like, I can't deal with this.
I don't know if that's ADHD. I think that's just like,
you think so?
I think that's everybody, because there's definitely like when shit's going wrong at work, or like stuff is stressful, I would use the dating app more, but I would meet up with people less.
Interesting.
Because it was like, no, I want swipes. I want like that little serotonin drip. Like I want as many matches as possible because I feel like shit. But then as soon as they would be like, so what are you doing tonight? I'm like, get the fuck out of here. I am too busy to deal with you, even though I liked them. And it's like completely my fault.
So you are that person. You are the person.
I think everybody does that.
Oh, no. Because you know what? I never actively go on like men. I just look at the pile that
Wouldn't
like
it be
me.
fucking nice if everybody could just fucking sit there? But you know who can't do that? Men, because there are women like you that don't like them. It's
then
like if
you
every
guys-
woman has that attitude, and then every man's like, "Oh, I'll wait for them to like me," nobody would match.
But this is how we do things, you know. Men like chasing, women like being chased. That's
God,
how it is.
You're old school. You're like, don't talk to me when I'm PMSing. I want the men to do everything. They
I do
pay
want the
for
men to do-
everything.
Yeah,
They-
all of it.
Oh
Yeah.
man. At least
No.
you're open about it. This is what I'm talking about.
Like I think I went through a period in my life where I was like, oh yeah, we probably should split the bill, and now I'm like, no the fuck we're not. No, he pays, and if he doesn't pay, that's it.
Fuck him. Yeah.
Fuck him. I'm not gonna be able to move past it, because I also know one of my worst traits as a person is pride. Yeah.
Okay.
Too much pride.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just like, if you don't pay, means you hurt my pride. Means you didn't want to pay for me.
Oh, that is fair. Yeah. The only time I've ever asked on a first date to split the bill is when I was having a horrible time. I was
That's
like,
fair.
just brought zero personality. I was like, there's zero chance I'm seeing her again.
Right.
In fact, I like openly am kind of insulted by how little effort she put into this. So I'm going to ask to split the bill.
Right.
And she did.
I mean, that's fair. That's
But-
fair.
That's my that's actually that was one of my dating red flags, was if the woman doesn't at least offer, then that's a red flag to me.
Interesting.
I would always say no. Like, first date, I got it, but I wanted the acknowledgement that like they understand that they're not owed anything.
Right.
Like we both chose to go out together. Like I got it. I'm gonna pay for it. But like even just like a little thing towards the wallet,
Right.
Or like little move or whatever. If they don't do that, if they just kind of sit there and be like, all right, cool, so you're gonna pay now, I'm gonna be like, all right, cool. Somebody doesn't respect my money or my time. Like,
Well, she doesn't. No.
yeah, no, they
No.
don't most of the time. And I'm not in that world anymore. Thank God, because it wasn't good for me.
It's not good. It's not a good world to be in. Yeah, I do think that there should be at least like an acknowledgement, a thank you, something. I do hear men complain that, you know, women just expect it and there's not even like an acknowledgement of it. Which, yeah, I think that's wrong generally. That's
Yeah.
just rude. I definitely expect men to pay, but I will still
Yeah.
do make the effort.
Yeah.
Also, a date with me is a treat. Can I just say? You are getting your money's worth. I make guys seem so much more interesting than they are.
Sure. I mean, are you, when you go on these dates, are you like letting them talk, or are you
Yeah.
okay?
I like ask them questions. I'm like excited to
Okay,
talk,
all right.
and
So you're, like, hyping them up.
I am hyping them up.
Okay.
I want people to have like feel good about themselves, and like also as they're talking, I'm hyper analyzing them as well.
There you go.
Like the-
I was gonna say
like,
we
yeah.
could bring this back to the ADHD at some point. Yeah, that's I also did love doing that.
Yeah.
Just like, all right, let's see if I can figure out your backstory without
Right.
actually like, and then I'll like ask about it and be like, no, I was a little off.
You said
it's
you
a little
grew up in
psychopathic
Utah?
to say. Yeah.
And it's like,
Um,
I used to have these tricks I used to do to men to see if they were actually confident or they were just pretending to be confident. I would just do this one thing. It worked every time.
I'm just very interested.
So we'd sit at a table, and I would just sort of, I would ask them a question, and they would start talking, and then I would sort of just lean back and just, you know, just be quiet and smile lightly and just look at them.
Look like their mom.
Just look at them like, you know, just be like,
Yeah.
they would just fall apart. It's like they would start rambling. They would start like, I could see them getting uncomfortable. I was like, okay, so you really weren't that confident.
You're fucking evil. You're like, all right, I got these 3 tests, and then I'm gonna make them pay for it. You're like, Jesus Christ. You're like my college professor.
It works, man. I'm like, hey, you were just making
Yeah.
it. You were just pretending.
You're weeding them out.
Yeah.
Oh,
Realistically,
man.
if you can't deal with that part, like you can't deal with me.
Again, respect. You know this about yourself. You're like, nope. It's not gonna work. It's just
I
not gonna.
can't. This thing is gonna go on the internet, and so many people are gonna listen and feel validated if they've ever met me before.
Yeah, that.
I knew
if
this
you
bitch
went
was
on a date
crazy.
with Cansu, hit me up on Instagram, and I'll make a running list. We'll like post it with the episode in the comments on the video.
God.
It's like these people have been victimized by Cansu's dating tactics. God damn. So the apps, you're either in or you're out. You're hyper focused, and I know that's like something that with ADHD people, they could be. And I want your like thoughts on how you relate to this and how you don't. But from what I understand, they could be very like all over the place and very hyper, but then if you find something they're interested in, they are interested in it. Like that is what they're focused on, like nonstop. And it like in a workplace setting, like if you're a coder, you just code for like 10 to 12 hours straight.
Right.
You're just going.
Yeah.
Does that
you
check
mean in
out with what you're
dating?
saying? Well, so like, yeah, with dating, what you're saying of like, no, I'm focused on this. I am
Right.
working on finding people right now.
Yeah, it will be that thing. And it won't be long, right? That's the thing with ADHD as well, is that it's just very immediate. It's now you're super focused, but then it'll be gone. It'll be done. Like just like that, you're done with it. And that's kind of annoying as well, because you don't give yourself enough time to get back into it and like start going on dates and start talking to people. And there is this like all or nothing component to it, where someone will say one thing that I find is like off-putting, and that's it. It's like, wait, you said what about the gays? Okay, I can never see you again.
Well, you think they should vote? What? No. What? Yeah, we're done.
It's funny. One guy, he told me, so this date was really lovely. He was very sweet. And then at some point he made fun of, so we talked about smoking hookah, which is something that is from my part of the world. Like
I love
we
smoking
do it,
hookah.
You do?
Yeah.
Great. You should come on my podcast.
Yeah, I'm down.
Okay, cool. That's what we do on my podcast.
Really? That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah. I used to smoke hookah all the time in college.
I've never heard a white person say that.
I know, it was fun. It was like a little activity, and you get
Yeah.
to blow clouds, and like we were dumb, so we learned a bunch of tricks and
Of
like all that
course,
other
yeah.
stuff. But what do you expect 19-year-old boys to fucking
No,
do?
that
So,
makes sense.
yeah, I
I
haven't
mean,
smoked hookah in forever. I'm definitely down.
cool. Okay, I'm gonna have you on the podcast. Let's hookah. That's what it's called.
Let's hookah. Great.
So I was telling him about the podcast, and he was like, "So how do you smoke your hookah?" And I was like, "What do you mean? This is how I smoke it." And he's like, "Oh, but you're doing it wrong." And that was it for me.
White boy.
He was a
Said
brown
that?
boy, but
Oh, okay.
it's still like he doesn't smoke hookah.
Did you even register what he said for why you were doing it wrong, or did you just
He
black
did.
it out?
No,
You're
he
like,
did.
No, I'm
I
done.
did ask him. I was
Yeah.
like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "Well, this is the way to smoke." I was like, "Do you smoke hookah?" He was like, "No." I was like, "You don't think I know how to smoke hookah when I've done it since I was like late teens
Yeah.
until now? Like, what do you?" He's like, "You're just smoking air." I'm like, "The fuck are you talking about?" I got so offended, and then I was like, "You're mansplaining something to me you have no idea about."
Yeah.
And it's something that's really like doesn't matter to me, but it was the attitude.
Right.
It doesn't.
Well, you want confident, not cocky.
Yeah, I don't want him to think. Yeah, for sure. That's like a key difference. Cocky is just unattractive.
Yeah. Nobody likes cocky.
No.
There's nobody. I'm sure he was like, in his mind, he's like, oh, she'll be impressed that I know this
Right.
weird little thing, and she'll go home and be like, oh, I should try it. Like, that guy was right. This is better. It never works out that way.
Oh,
But
gosh.
that's that's with dating. Like, you do have to practice dating,
You do
which is also exhausting. But like,
so much.
it's just like anything. It's like you're selling yourself, and if you're in a sales job, everyone's like, no, you need to practice. You need to do sales. You need to do
Yeah.
trainings and stuff. And people are like, you're not good at dating? Well, I don't know. Just go out there and fucking do it. It's like, no, you gotta say some stupid shit. And then
Yeah, you have
figure it
to.
out.
There's so much of just pretending to be your best self, right? That's a big part of it,
Yeah.
and that's problematic in itself. But we have to anyway. Can't
Yeah.
just like people have to like you first to accept your quirks and your like whatever your deficiencies are.
Yeah. Right. So when did you move to the U.S. and how is dating different here than like? Well, okay. So you moved from Denmark.
I actually moved from the UK.
Okay.
I lived in the UK for a long time,
Okay.
which is where I did comedy, and I studied out there. So I left Denmark like 10 years ago. And in the UK is where you mainly use the dating apps. And what was different, I moved to New York a year and a half ago.
Okay.
Right. And what's different about the dating apps, dating life out there, is that I feel like people do want something that lasts longer. It's not just about this, like, you know, this fast-paced, the New York City urgency. And, you know, like always on to the next thing. This constant hustle culture. I generally felt like people were like far more into having something more rooted and stable.
And that was in London.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's like, I mean, dating apps in the Midwest. That's how it is.
Right.
Like even in a bigger city in the Midwest, like Chicago or whatever, it's very much more serious,
right?
I guess, and especially on the app, right? Like Tinder's less serious than Hinge, but yeah, in New York,
and I would say it's the same thing. Like Tinder is not serious, but then you have Bumble and Hinge, and that would be way more serious.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, even Hinge here, I feel it's like most people are kind of looking for flings.
Yeah.
Like they say they're looking for something serious, but it's just like, yeah, they just kind of want something for a few months while it's cold outside.
For sure.
And you know, most of the city, especially in Manhattan, is 21 to 26-year-olds. Probably not going to be looking for anything too serious.
I mean, that's way below my filter anyway, but
what's your filter? Like 55 to 75? You're like, I want someone almost dead. Get their riches.
Listen,
like,
it's not a bad idea.
If you're 55 and you're living in Manhattan, then you're rich as shit. So can't blame you.
Hey, it's not a bad idea. Should go around like the Upper East Side and start swiping up there.
Oh yeah, those people are like weeks away from dead. This is a very near payday.
No, mine is like from 29 to like up.
Okay.
Like late 30s.
Sure. Okay.
That's because I'm 33.
Okay.
Like
that's a pretty good range.
Decade. Yeah.
There are a lot of women that like nothing under their age.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not mature enough to do that.
You do like the comedy thing is hard to explain to people on dates.
Yeah,
because they're like, okay, so you have a day job during the day, and you're like, yep, and then you go do comedy every night, all night, and you're like, yep, and they're like, so when are we hanging out? I'm like, 1 a.m? I don't know.
It's so hard. It's so hard.
And that's kind of why I hated I was like, man, I just if I'm gonna need to find someone naturally because they need to fit my hours.
Yeah.
Like whatever I'm doing that I find them naturally, odds are better that they'll fit my hours as opposed to like, well, I'm going on this date and I hope that they don't want to go to bed early every night. Like,
honestly, yeah, people who go to bed early, yeah, no, that can't happen ever. And it would be great if it was someone who also works a lot so they understand and then, you know, make time.
And then you could see each other at no point.
Yeah. No, I think that is sometimes what feels appealing about dating a comic, which I haven't done, but at least someone like what in the entanglements that I mentioned before, what's been easy about that is that they understand that you're out doing shows and then you just see each other when you're both done.
Yeah.
And there's like nothing complicated about that, right?
Yeah.
But it's difficult to find that in people that don't understand the need for you to do 2 full-time jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Also, comics out of their mind.
They're degenerates. Yeah, they're degenerates.
You really got to know what you're getting into.
Yeah, no, it's not fun with comics. I mean, like, I'm hoping your relationship's solid.
It's having a lot of fun. The other like little things I've had with comics, it's like nope, and it's those like hard nopes, like you're saying. It's like, oh yeah, no, that no. I don't know. I got lucky. I don't tell people like, oh no, you gotta go date a comic. I'm like, no, you gotta know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
But
no, that was so funny because I told you how this person on the dating app didn't have his profession on, and because I've been like actively avoiding the comics on the circuit, like, in terms of like anything romantic. So, and then recently started going way more into the apps, and then this guy didn't have his profession on, right? And I was like, he's either a drug dealer or has no job. I was like, well, anyway, fine. He liked me, so yeah, let's go with it. Just to get back into it, really. And then I asked him what he does for a living, and he said stand-up comedy. And I was like, man, I can't escape these motherfuckers. They're everywhere. Like, you need to disclose that on your profile so people can opt out.
Then he's not getting any dates. There's nothing.
That is a red flag.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it is. Times are tough.
I mean, not for us too, because we're like clearly delightful. But when other people say they're comedians,
we're good at hiding it. We're good. I still have a normal job, so that's what's on my. But he would say the same thing to you, because you don't have. There's no. I mean, I haven't seen your profile.
I have a profession on mine.
Right. But you don't have stand-up comic on there. You're hiding it too. You're just doing a better job.
I'm just doing a better job. But also, I have another job. That's where I make my main living.
True.
And I'm not out here
also,
lying
it's a money thing.
Yeah, I'm not just lying about living off of comedy here. I'm not living off of comedy.
Maybe he's got rich parents and it doesn't matter.
We see now that makes him way more appealing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You didn't even give him a chance. There are a lot of stand-up comics, not going to name names, very rich, never worked a day in their life, never made any money off comedy either.
What?
But their parents are so rich that they're like, I don't know, live your dreams, because they've got like generational wealth.
That's wild.
There's no point in them getting a job because their parents are paying for their apartment, they're paying for all their food, as long as they're not going on like luxury vacations or whatever. And their parents don't really give a shit because
that's wild. Who are these people?
I'll tell you afterwards. Okay. But like, generally not my favorite people.
Wow.
But
I feel like if you have generational wealth in this country, then your parents that money is like slave money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Good.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
I do know someone like that. Not a comic.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
Damn.
Like his house is covered in like 13th century Indian artifacts
that
his family stole, brought to England, and then brought over to the U.S. in like 1775 or some shit.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a real piece of shit.
Oh my god.
Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. I don't know. I never got along with people that grew up in Manhattan.
Right.
I feel like I can talk to just about anybody for 2 hours. I'll entertain them, whatever. And it's like I could play, even if I'm having a miserable time, I can ask questions for about 2 hours before I'm like, all right, I gotta go. But the people that I never really connected with were the ones that grew up in Manhattan. Even like deep Brooklyn, I connected with way better.
Right.
But most of the people I dated were from the South, the Midwest, like upstate. Those types of places, and I think it's just like the way they approach life. I don't know. I'm curious if you've found that while going on dates, like any patterns around where the dates are from and how well it goes.
That's very interesting. So I generally, this is gonna sound really problematic, but I don't usually date white guys.
Why is that problematic?
Okay. I just don't want to be colonized, that's what it is. So usually I tend to go on dates with people of color, and I do think that being a minority, being from the backgrounds that we have, does give you sort of an understanding. There's a lack of privilege, not always, but sometimes, that helps you understand other people. And yeah, I think that's something that I find appealing in while dating, and also in my friend circle. I've never had friends who are just that privileged, because I don't know how to talk to them.
Yeah.
Like, we're not talking the same language. You don't understand me, where I'm coming from at all. Like, like my parents are working class immigrants, generations of surviving genocides in Turkey, like that's where I'm coming from. And if you have some super uber privileged life and you don't even have to work for a living, like you can just sit in your, like, I can't connect with those people. There is actually one comedian. Hopefully the person will never hear this episode, but but there was this moment where I was talking about how difficult it was to, live in New York City, like hand to mouth, with the kind of salary you make in my job as a scientist in the university. And she was like, yeah, people always think I'm so rich because I don't have to like work for a living. I was like, what do you mean?
What?
And she was like, Yeah, I have like shares in my dad's company, so I just get paid without working.
Yeah.
I was like, what? You live on the Upper East Side, Lower East Side, somewhere around there. And she was like, yeah, I don't pay rent. My dad bought me that apartment.
Yeah.
I was like, how are you relating your experience to mine? Like, how did you just do this?
Yeah.
Like, that is so dismissive and delusional. Yeah, that just upset me so much. I was like, okay, I can't. Rich white girls, stay away from me.
And then she told you how to do hookah, and you were like, I'm going to kill her. She's going in the East Village.
And I'm PMSing right now, so she deserves to die.
Oh, man. I have a guess of who you're talking about. I'm not going to say their name until afterwards.
Right,
but
after.
yeah, it's the self-awareness, I think. And it's the... But even... I don't know. Maybe that's what the connection is like, I do think there is something weird to like growing up in the city. I feel like people that grow up in the city grow up very fast, and they see a lot. They have a ton of freedom. So I'm interested to hear about your upbringing as well. But with mine, my upbringing, I couldn't really go anywhere until my buddy had a car when he was 16 and I was 15.
Oh, interesting.
Like we had like a little town, but I was in the suburbs. It was very safe. There were more the highest ratio of cops to people anywhere in the state. So it's just like this super safe suburb, filled with all just generally rich white people that oddly enough didn't get along with. All of my friends were in the same socioeconomic class that I was. But really, like, I didn't see anything until I turned like 16 and started like roofing houses for work and like getting jobs in other places. Like I had really long hair. So the only people that would hire me were places in the hood.
Oh, wow.
And those jobs were so much fun. They had the best stories. It was all stuff I'd never heard before. It was like, I don't mean to be like, oh, they were great entertainment value, but it really did teach me like a lot. But someone that grew up in the city, I feel like kind of has like a higher level of anxiety to them because they start seeing that stuff from like age 2 is when they start noticing like homeless people and like really bad living conditions and all this. And it just like, I don't know. We couldn't ever connect on like how the other person grew up and saw the world. You know, it's almost like they were a lot more jaded than I was, which I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It never clicked.
Mm-hmm. That could be a factor for sure. I wonder if the people who've been around those conditions ever registered them being like not normal. Like, do you? Because I kind of feel like there's a reason all of this stuff is so normalized in New York. And if you ever talk to a New Yorker about the homeless situation or like, the subway, like whatever is happening, people doing crack on the street, they're like, it's just New York. Welcome
you
to
haven't
New
lived
York.
here long enough to just like give it another 4 years. You'd be like, fucking.
And I hate that mentality of like, people used to say that to me all the time when I moved here. They were like, welcome to New York. Like, shut the fuck up. This is not okay. I don't think this is okay. And I grew up in Denmark, so it's crazy because I grew up in a neighborhood that was like all people of color, like all immigrants.
That is not what
refugees.
I think of for Denmark.
No,
I think of everyone who looks like me.
Most people do. You look very Danish. You look very Scandinavian.
I went to Norway and they all thought I was Norwegian.
That
like none of them started
speaking
speaking English to me. They were like, I'm going to start speaking Norwegian. I had to let every single one of them down. But like, I go down to Ecuador and they don't even try with the Spanish. They're like, no.
Do you speak Spanish?
No.
Oh, okay. Well,
little bit. I can read it and I can kind of understand it, but they don't even give it a shot.
I was born and raised in Denmark. When I go back now at the airport, they'll speak English to me. Like the border people will speak English to me, and I'll give them a Danish passport and be like, oh, okay, you're from Denmark. Like that's how much like I don't obviously look like I'm from there. Then meanwhile, when I go to Mexico, everyone's like speaking Spanish to me.
Yeah.
Not even Mexico, dude. Like every bodega I go to, pizza place I go to, I have to constantly let people down. And like all of my time, I stayed in the Bronx for 3 weeks, and every single day people were speaking Spanish to me, and these old people would ask me for the time. I I'd be like, I'm sorry. I don't. I was letting all these old people down.
You gotta at least learn the numbers. You gotta talk to Chris Ryder about that. There are comics that I know that have known him for 5 years, and they'll come up to me like, he's not Hispanic? I'm like, no.
He looks so
no,
Puerto
he's
Rican.
half black. He doesn't speak a lick of Spanish. And he's got bits about it. But he's got bits about it, and comics are still like, yeah, but he's Dominican, right? And I'm like, nope.
I did think that at first. I remember someone said Chris is black, and I was like, "What?" Everything is upside down. But that's obviously how people look at me. They're like, "There's no way she's not Hispanic." I was gonna say,
you got the same issue. I mean, it's good for comedy to be racially ambiguous. Yeah, it's just like get booked on any show. Nobody's asking me to go do the Harlem shows. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, you should though. Those shows are fun.
I want to. Yeah. I need an invite.
Just hit people up. No one cares.
Yeah, you're right.
No, I actually, when I moved to New York, Harlem was where I started doing comedy. Because I came here from the UK, and I used to do like British style comedy. See, okay, this thing I'm doing right now is also ADHD. The tangents. Okay. I can't stay with the topic. Great. I just keep going.
That's what this whole podcast is.
Okay,
it's just
I'm glad.
Tangents. Like people who listen to every episode are like, no, it's just all over the place. Okay,
and we're not staying on
the only
topic.
reason I like a topic is so I have something to go back to when I can't think of anything else to say. You know?
Okay.
Sorry, go on.
The Harlem thing. So when I moved here from the UK, my style of comedy was kind of different. It was still sort of around the same topics, but it was way more like storytelling and you know, big punchline at the end, but you sort of take them through your story with like small laughs in between. And then I came to New York, and everyone was like, so what's the joke? Like, what? Give me a joke. Joke. I like the fact that people here count laughs per minute. Right? That was like an unreal concept to me. I've never heard, like in the UK, I've heard a volume of laughs. So like they'll have like a meter, like a
decibel meter.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
cool.
then you see like how much laugh you get in terms of like bringing the room together, but never like how many laughs per minute. So then when I came here, I realized it wasn't working, and I started going to this open mic in Harlem at Harlem Nights. And that's where I really learned how to sort of get back into it's sort of like restructure my comedy so that I could get those quick laughs.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, there are honest crowds out there, so it's a great place to go work out. People always say if it works in Harlem, it works anywhere.
Fair. I'll believe you. Yeah. I've done like one or two up there, and it was fun. I got invited to do it, and then they stopped inviting me.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah. I should go. I need to explore more. It's like I'm in Midtown, just tourists like me. And then like my show's down here, and then Brooklyn is generally where I'm at. And I'm like, you know what? I need to, because that's like the old school New York thing. And that's for a while, everyone was like, no, New York is better because you get different types of audiences. Yeah. But are all the audiences in London fairly homogenous? Like, what was that transition like coming from there to here? What did you need to pick up on?
Yeah, the main thing I had to do was delivery. So in the UK, there's way more of like deadpan, low energy kind of delivery, and audiences are very much with you. They're intently listening to you. They want to be a part of the journey. Sure. That I found was very different here. Whereas here, people cross their arms. They're like, make me laugh, bitch.
They're like, prove it.
Prove that I should laugh at you. Whereas in the UK, people are like, oh my God, thank you for taking us through this journey. Like, thank you for letting us be a part of it. Yeah. And that, I think that was a key difference. So when I got here, after a few times, I remember I was at one of the Harlem Nights, and one of the comics came up to me. He said, he was like, don't get discouraged, because your cerebral kind of comedy might not work in this room, but you'll find audiences that will love it. And he said, and then someone else, and that was like a really nice encouragement. And then someone else said, yeah, you know, sometimes it's not even about what you say, it's about how you say it. And I was like, oh shit. Yeah. At first I was like, rude. It should always be about what you say.
Nope. That's I've figured that one out over the last year and a half. It's like, because you watch people that are like super popular, they have like TikToks that are going viral and all this other stuff, and you're watching it going like, that's not even a good joke. And then you're like, man, he really sold it. Yeah. He really sold it. And people are like, it's the beer test. Like, do you know about the American political beer test?
No.
So they figured out in like 2000.
Oh, yes, I know.
Yeah, like 98 or 2001,
Yeah.
somewhere around there. Is like people vote for whoever they want to have a beer with, and comedy's turned into that.
Yeah.
Like it used to be the comedy clubs were, let's go to this weird little basement in the West Village or Greenwich Village, and let's see this crazy man say his crazy ideas for a little while. And now it's like, nope. If the audience doesn't feel like they could have a beer with you, then they do not want to hear what you're saying.
For sure.
And it's definitely changed it. I don't think it's good or bad necessarily. It's just like, I do think the laughs per minute thing is going away. I also think like audiences outside of New York are probably closer to London. They're there to have fun. Absolutely. Like they want to go on a journey with you. They trust you, especially coming from New York. They go into the show thinking this is going to be good. This is a New York comic. I'm ready to laugh with them. Where in New York, I think it's just a factor of like, if they're not having a good time, they look down at their watch and they're like, I could have been doing 90 other things right now.
For
like,
sure.
I could be working. I could be at a play. I could be at a restaurant. I could be
the whole dating
hanging out
thing
with
again,
right? And it goes back to the dating thing. Yeah.
It's like,
if you're on a bad date, you're looking down. I could have been at a show.
Yeah.
I could have done anything else. I could have been watching Netflix.
And there's something better out there for me to do.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's always that. Whereas absolutely, I've done a few road shows since moving here, and it's been so much fun. Gosh. Again, it's like the same material here, but it's just people receive it differently. I definitely think it's more similar to the UK. I do think that British audiences want you to be clever. They don't just want like quick jokes. They want you to say something.
Right.
That was like, I remember with the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, a lot of comics that were taking their hour there got criticism. A criticism they might have gotten from like a reviewer would be, talks is funny, but not saying anything.
Yeah.
Like you're not telling a real story here. There's no take home message. This is what they want. They want you to say something like profound.
Yeah.
And which is also like a whole new...
Such a high expectation for just telling jokes, man. Like, I'm not trying to solve world hunger. No.
That would never work.
Well, you only get like 8 minutes sometimes. You can't really make a super strong point in 8 minutes and make them laugh. Because it can't be a TED Talk.
What I've seen here is that when comics are doing that, when, for instance, people watch Neil Brennan's thing and they watch like some other stuff and they're like, that's not really comedy. That's a one-man show. It's like, no, that is definitely comedy. But, it's just comedy with a very profound message. Yeah.
It's not traditional American stand-up.
No. There definitely is that disconnect. So now here, like I talk way less about the things that I would love to talk about. I do in my longer sets talk a lot about like upbringing and religion and stuff like that. But like my go-to stories will be about dating because they're so much more fun and audiences like connect with it.
Instantly relatable. Yep. Yeah. That's like a brand new New York comic who's like kind of figuring it out. The two things they always gravitate towards are homeless people and dating apps because it relates with everybody. Everybody in the audience has had a weird interaction with a homeless man, and everyone in the audience is on dating apps for the most part at New York comedy shows. What else from like moving from London have you noticed is kind of a culture shock besides the dating and the comedy?
Aside from New York being crazy, like, it is a crazy place. It's a crime against humanity. New York is Gotham City. Yeah. And all we need is a Joker now. That's me while I'm menstruating.
Well, we had the subway shooter, and then we had the dude with the machete.
Oh God.
So people are putting in applications. I feel like they're making a pretty good case. Like, I'm into it. Donald Trump threw his hat in the ring, kind of. Right. He almost like got arrested and had a bunch of protests in Lower Manhattan today. That would have been wild.
Oh man!
Can you imagine if he went full Joker? I'm ready for that.
I actually can imagine that.
Do you stress about politics living here more than you did in the UK, or is it equally as, because Americans like to think it's like, oh, it's such a shit show over here, the Europeans, they've got it figured out, and then meanwhile like France protests every other day,
Right.
and then like, well, that's just kind of what France does apparently.
Yeah, they just love a good
it's
revolution.
like, yeah, the Scandinavians have a nice little thing going on, but there's 12 people in their entire country, so I don't know. You tell me. I'm obviously making jokes, but like,
I do think though, like Germany, 80 million people, right?
Yeah.
US is what, 300? It's not like, it's still profound number of people living out there, but the things that they would demonstrate against is very different from what you demonstrate against. You guys are like,
don't put me into this group. I rarely protest. I've protested one time, and that was for Black Lives Matter.
Oh wait, people that protest here are usually like crazy people.
Oh yeah.
Whereas like in
They're
Europe,
bored.
in Europe, it's mostly liberals that protest because they want, like, not saying that conservatives are crazy, but.
No, please, as an immigrant, tell us how we're.
That was the inference.
Uh-huh.
No, I do think it's crazy here that when we, for instance, in the UK, like the things that we'd be upset about would be, okay, you're not taking in enough refugees. You're taking in some, you're not taking in enough. Or like minimum wages this much, that's not good enough. Or, you know, it would be things that would make life quality better. It wasn't just, it's the difference between demonstrating about having basic civil rights and to having like, healthcare and free education, right? It's like very different things that we're actually being upset about. And I feel like in the US, it's like, you guys are fighting for the bare fucking minimum.
Yeah.
You have no public healthcare, no public, like no free
It's
education.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like,
oh my God.
we're not even to the point where we could protest for healthcare because we're protesting for basic rights.
It's like basic civic rights that you are protesting for, like not access to abortions and like trans rights. It's like existence here is so difficult. So I don't even. You're so like it is so far away from being like, how do we make things better now? Like,
yeah, but there's no better place to be rich.
Don't even get me started. I grew up in a socialist country.
Yeah.
So this, like, the wealth accumulation here, the wealth disparity, so frustrating.
So I do want to get you started.
Okay.
A lot of the people that are moving to the U.S. from Cuba, also a socialist country, vote very conservative because they see them as anti-socialist.
Yeah.
And that's their worst nightmare.
Yeah.
But you grew up in a socialist country.
In a functioning socialist
okay.
country.
So you're saying like, no, it is like, how do you do it here? Because that's the argument against socialism, right? Is that we have too many people in America, it would never work.
Right. Well, I mean, it works in Germany. And it's a lot of people there, I would say.
How socialist are they?
They're like neoliberal, I think.
Okay.
They're like on the side where it's like, you still protect you'd still be able to be rich in those countries.
Sure.
But not at the expense of other people.
Ah.
Right. And I think that's a
wild theory. I don't know.
Right.
I think
how do you even do that?
Taking advantage of people is kind of like really American. So I don't know if
it is like the whole, hustle culture. It's an American thing, right?
Yeah.
That's like popularized here. The American dream is a part of it. So I feel like living in a society, and this is, sure, it's Denmark's 5 million people only. That's not even the size of New York. But in Germany, which is a much larger population, the UK, while now run by Tories, the Conservatives, was like the Labour Party was very active for a long time, right? And there is free education, or somewhat free education. There is free healthcare. There is a government that more or less looks out for you if you're like losing your job, or like for like gives you benefits, and you can take. The fact that in this country you guys only have 1 month of maternity leave, even like sometimes maybe 2 weeks.
Mandated.
It is, oh my God. Like, I come from a country where it's a year.
Hey man, if you're not gonna make it after a month, you ain't gonna make it. So we're weeding them out. It's just like you with dating. We're fucking getting them out of here. No, I'm kidding, obviously.
Yeah, I think what would be difficult here if this was not a society, I think the basic mental state has to be changed. If this was not a society where everyone was like, what can I get for me and the people in my community?
Yeah.
If everyone was like looking at society as a whole, like just fucking divide it into 50 countries then. If that's gonna work, you guys are already so different from each other anyway.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't New York just be one country and Texas be another country?
You've been talking to Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's all for this.
I mean, that is the future, though. That is the future. We're gonna get rid of the nation state anyway. So, so then if you looked at your society as like, okay, we all put something into it and we all get back from it, right? You can still accumulate your wealth if that's really what you're interested in, but at least you pay higher taxes, and then you never have to worry about basic things like healthcare and education.
Yeah.
And you create this circular system where there's always something, there's this fear of people taking advantage here, right? I come from countries where we have free healthcare. I've never seen anyone be keen to go to the doctor.
No, I know. Yeah.
Oh my God, I have really good healthcare
should
here.
Be. Preventative is a much better system of medical help than emergency only.
But we don't. We die anyway.
Yeah.
Like, we also die in other countries.
Yeah, that's true.
We're not just out there living forever.
Well, maybe that's the problem. Maybe if you guys were living to 175, we'd be like, we should get on what they're doing. That's obviously
right.
They're
obviously
doing it right
working.
over there.
Yeah.
I mean, I
don't
think
know if I said anything. I just rambled.
No. That was good. I agree. It just like I think like the whole banking crisis that just happened with Silicon Valley Bank is kind of the epitome of what happens here in the rest of American culture, which was essentially the bank did something dumb, and it shouldn't have done something dumb, but it wasn't so bad that it was going to collapse. And then it put out a statement trying to explain what it did, and it did a bad job explaining that. And instead of everyone who got really good deals from that bank and was helped by that bank and has been there for years going like, you know what? No, we're all going to like stick together. We're going to help this bank. There's going to be reforms. We got to make a change. Everyone was like, get my money out of there. And the bank imploded in like 2 days.
Right.
And that's how it is here. Is like you can have your community, but as soon as something bad happens to you, it kind of is every man for themselves.
Yeah.
It's like someone gets really sick. It's like, oh, that's the scarlet letter. Like they're just going to bring me down, because it's so hard to full-time take care of someone in this country, because it's so expensive and eats up so much time that it's like, well, if I take care of them, how the fuck am I going to do what I need to get done?
Right.
So I have to like pseudo abandon them, you know? Like, we are nice about it. We'll still be, no, that's my friend. Yeah, we're friends. But like,
I'll start a Just Giving page for you.
It's tough without without any sort of like government floor where people like have the healthcare, they can get the help that they need. Then I think it's easier to build community when you don't feel like you're in competition with everyone else, and you feel like you can help them without hurting your own potential and career.
Right. And I think that's the kind of level of comfort people have come to in some parts of Europe, like Western and Northern Europe at least, where you're not feeling like someone else doing better means that you're not doing well.
Yeah.
Or like you don't have that fear that everything's just gonna fall apart, you're gonna lose your home. So, and that level of security is what, when they say happiness index, right? That's why the Scandinavian countries are far higher on that, because you don't live with that fear. I never once in my life felt that until I left Denmark.
Yeah.
Obviously in New York, I'm like constantly anxious. I've like discovered a whole new version of myself.
Great. Yeah.
And it's not a version I like.
This is why the best comics are in New York, though. We're out of our mind. We're so anxious. We're out of our mind. You got a billion thoughts a day. You're worried about everything, which is why you're always going to spots. You're like, I got to keep going.
Keep going. There's like constant hustle. And it doesn't work well with my ADHD, right? It's just like now when I'm all like...
Really? Wouldn't it be entertaining that you've always got something to do? Because I've got really bad FOMO, and that's why I like it here. I always feel like I'm missing out. And so if I'm here, there's always something I could go do. Right. You know?
Whenever you do one thing, you like, I could have done all these other things as well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
But at the same, it's like, what am I going to do? 9 things in a night. I'll still have it.
When you
But
have
if I
ADHD,
was,
you'd be like, yeah,
if
9
I
things
was
in a
living
night.
at home, if I was
Right.
in Michigan, I'd feel like I was missing out on everything.
Right.
We're like, here, at least I can go to all this stuff and then sit there and think to myself, well, okay, I didn't do everything, but look at what I did
Right.
do, you know?
Yeah, I think there is something nice here about always being able to do something, but it also means that you're always on the go because there's always something to do. It's just this like catch-22 almost, right?
Yeah.
It's a crazy place to be.
So the fear and the anxiety, you're enjoying it.
You know how many burnouts I've had since I've
Been here a year and a half and you've already had multiple burnouts?
Multiple
You were way
burnouts.
ahead of schedule. That took me, I mean, I don't think I burned out until, well, the pandemic kind of threw everything off.
Right.
I was on pace for a burnout and then the pandemic happened and that just everyone got annihilated by that. But
It's been the speed of life have been so fast here, and like keeping in mind also that I am already naturally like an overdoer. I do like so many things at the same time, and I want to do everything. And here you can do everything. When you live in other countries, you can't do everything, right?
Yeah.
So you do what you can, but when you can't do everything, you just try to do it all.
you feel like you have to.
You
yeah.
have to. It's a constant hustle. When I'm not out one night, I feel terrible. But at the same time, when I'm out every single night, I also feel like I have no time because obviously I have my day job. I also want to go running every day. I want to do yoga every day. I also want to see my friends, and I want to do 3 shows a night.
Yep.
And before you know it, like you don't have a moment to breathe.
No.
And the yoga doesn't help.
No.
It's like that should be the time to
That's
breathe.
supposed to be the thing to
Yeah.
help you calm down,
And now you're like
find your
all
center.
clenched up.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, you know, that's why we're doing it while we're young. It's not many old people that live in this city.
I'm in my 30s, so am I young? I don't know.
Pretty much geriatric.
Yeah, like if I got pregnant in the next 2 years,
Yeah.
it would be a geriatric pregnancy.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, you might as well just kill yourself now because there's no hope. You're
Wow.
already...
Wow. Rude.
All right. This is a lot of fun. I think we
Yeah.
end it there. I think we end this podcast with me telling you should kill yourself.
Shit.
Where can people find you?
I am on Instagram as Cansu Comedy, CANSU,
Yep.
and on TikTok with the same handle. I have a podcast called Let's Hook Up,
Okay.
and I'm at QED every second and fourth Friday of the month on a show called Diversity Hire.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I've seen the poster for that.
Yeah.
Not seeing many people that look like me on that show. I'm not gonna lie. No, it's I've heard it's a really good show.
Oh, thanks.
Then yeah, it's called, the podcast is called Let's Hookah.
Let's Hook Up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Follow me at Corey T Comedy on all social media. That's TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, all that fun stuff. And come see Ope, a comedy show, every single week at Ferns. Johnsu's done it a couple times.
Yes.
If you listen to this and you're in the city and you want to specifically request that she is on the show that you come to, hit me up on Instagram and we'll get her on the show.
Hell yeah.
Let's do another one soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.